magnitude 6.2 earthquake struck central Italy early this morning. While most folks there were sleeping, residents awoke to scenes one described as Dante's Inferno. They were the lucky ones. At least 159 people were killed, and it's a race against time tonight to find survivors. Seth Doan is there.
The frantic search for signs of life continued through the day as dazed residents tried to grasp the scale of the disaster. Mostly what was pulled from the rubble was grim, but there was good news. Stay calm, this rescue worker urged an 80-year-old who was trapped and ultimately freed. The town of Amatrice stood since medieval times, but was no match for the 6.2 magnitude quake. How do you begin to rebuild, one resident asked us. The clock tower marks the time just after 3:30 this morning when the quake rattled this mountaintop town. Some of the first on the scene were ordinary folk, including priest Fabio Gambarota, who heard residents calling from windows.
Aiuto! Aiuto!
Help, help.
Help, help!
He told us he tried to lift heavy stones with his bare hands off people who were trapped.
You can see workers going from house to house searching for possible survivors, and you can get a sense for just how much work that takes when you see the scope of the devastation here. Take a look at this house, the wall completely destroyed, exposing the kitchen inside. This woman, who would not give her name, had just her cat, some grapes, and a little bread. This is what you could save here?
Yes, the police gave me a coat, she said. This is all I have left now. It took me 26 years to build my life in this place.
You can see this search and rescue continues even after night has fallen here. These rural communities hit so hard by this earthquake are high up in the mountains, Maurice, and that only further complicates rescue efforts. It makes it difficult to get heavy equipment to where it's needed.
Seth Doan near the epicenter.
Turkey
tonight sent ground forces into Syria today, a move that could further escalate and complicate Syria's 5-year-old civil war. Turkey hopes to retake a border town from ISIS, but also stop the expansion of Kurdish rebels who have U.S. backing. Holly Williams is following this.
As Turkish tanks rolled across the border today, American warplanes helped give them cover. Turkey says it wants to cleanse its border of ISIS militants, starting with Jarablus. The offensive comes on the same day that Vice President Joe Biden arrived in Turkey, trying to shore up relations with one of America's most difficult allies. Though the U.S. supported today's operation, the two have a fundamental disagreement about how to tackle ISIS. U.S. Special Forces are working closely with Kurdish fighters in Syria, but Turkey says the Kurdish group is a terrorist organization with links to violent separatists. Turkey recently shelled Kurdish positions in Syria after they advanced across the Euphrates River, a red line that's fueled Turkish anxiety. Another strain on America's relationship with Turkey is the attempted military coup here last month, which many Turks have come to believe was supported by the U.S. Today, the Vice President refuted that.
The people of the United States of America abhor what happened, and under no circumstances would support any remotely approaching the cowardly act of the treasonous members of your military who engaged in this behavior.
Turkey's also angry because the U.S. hasn't yet extradited Fethullah Gulen, a moderate Islamic cleric who lives in Pennsylvania and who's accused of masterminding the failed coup. But Maurice, the Vice President, said today that the U.S. has to follow judicial process.
Holly Williams on the battle raging in Syria tonight.
A number of my own friends also stuck inside. I've been able to speak to a police special forces commander who tells me that they're trying to move in very carefully. We can confirm that there's a complex attack targeting the American University in West Kabul. There was an explosion followed by gunfire, and a number of students are killed. and some are injured. We're still waiting for more details. It's still a very fluid situation. It happens on an evening when Kabul is dark, when the electricity is cut off, and the five power line in Kunduz. So a very complicated situation. But what I can tell you that the American university is where the next generation of Afghanistan is being educated. So this is an attack on Afghanistan's future, hopes and aspirations.
The Pentagon tonight identifying the American soldier killed in Afghanistan. We reported on last night here. Staff Sergeant Matthew Thompson, a Green Beret from Irvine, California, died in a roadside bomb attack. He was advising Afghan forces on patrol in Helmand province. They are currently about 9,800 American troops deployed in Afghanistan.
This is AP News Minute. Well over 200 people are now known dead in the earthquake that struck Italy early Wednesday. Rescue crews with dogs and audio equipment are pulling apart collapsed buildings looking for survivors and victims. North Korea claims it has launched a missile from a submarine. The country released a video showing various angles of a missile being fired from underwater. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says the launch gives his country a fully equipped nuclear attack capability that puts the U.S. mainland in striking distance. No serious injuries are reported from the tornadoes that touched down in central Indiana on Wednesday. The twisters tore roofs off apartment buildings and knocked out power to thousands of people. And a fast-moving wildfire in eastern Idaho has now spread to 70 square miles. Some evacuations are in place. The fire is burning the habitat of a federally protected bird. Sandy Kozel, The Associated Press, with AP News Minute.
Good evening. Scott is on assignment. I'm Maurice Dubois. And we begin with a developing story in the Midwest. Late today, at least 2 tornadoes touched down in central Indiana, and the authorities are just beginning to assess the damage. The twisters struck near Indianapolis and about 50 miles north in the Kokomo area. Vanita Nair has the latest.
Drivers in Kokomo captured the twister as it formed.
Oh my gosh, Starbucks just got blown over.
Customers inside this restaurant captured the moment it touched down. The tornado blew the roof off this Starbucks and flattened its walls. Witnesses rushed to the scene to help those inside. The tornado also blew through this apartment complex, breaking windows, tossing cars, and scattering debris as far as the eye could see. This photo shows a car and truck toppled on top of each other amid fallen trees and dangling wires.
You can see it good right there.
The National Weather Service described the twister as large and destructive. Winds blew so strong and sudden, people ran for their lives.
And I came out and it was just like a whole new world out here.
14-year-old Jalen Givens was home with his sister when the tornado struck.
It jerked the door out of my hand and I had to shut it. And then we ran into the bathroom, and then the furnace exploded, and we all hid in the tub. It was scary.
The National Weather Service says it is in the process of sending foot surveyors out tonight to see just how strong the tornadoes were, and Maurice to assess how much damage they caused.
Vanita Nair following the tornadoes tonight.